Good morning, you wonderful YouTubers. Welcome to my channel, Tiger Rose Rides. We're just approaching Hasler Bridge at the moment. I say we, my eldest boy Jeff in front of me. We're just off for a little ride on the last sunny day for a couple of days. So we're going to enjoy a nice little ride up to the Breakfast Club, which is near Wickham. I can't remember the name of the actual place it's in, so I'll add that later on. But they do a marvellous breakfast there. The black pudding and the haggis is directly transported down from Scotland, and it has to be the best black pudding I've ever tasted, and I do like black pudding. There we go. So Hasler Bridge here, this is the more modern version of it. It has had several incarnations, one of which looked so rickety you hardly wanted to stand on it, but it was put here because it's also serviced the Royal Hasler Hospital, which is just to my left, which we're going past pretty much now really. So we've got the Submarine Museum on my left as well. I did go through the boatyard on my right and the Royal Hasler Hospital on my left in my last video, so I'm not going to repeat myself there. But so we're going to go along the coast road, which is nice, get a bit of footage in for you. And this week I'm going to add not a motorbike or a local history, but something that's really, without them, motorbike history wouldn't have been what it was, and that's J.A.P, the makers of J.A.P engines. So I'm going to go through a small history of the J.A.P. It is a small small history, because the narration that I did for it is just over 1 page long, where normally it's about 3 pages. I do love this indicator warning. May have been a bit of money, but it's well worth it. I recommend it to anyone that has trouble with leaving their indicators on, which I do sometimes still, because it does take a little while to kick in sometimes, and I can be riding along and then it'll kick in and I get the tick in and go, oh shit, left the indicator on. It's just not a habit I can get into for some reason, I don't know why. But yeah, so Jeff is riding his Super Meteor 650 Royal Enfield, and he absolutely loves it. When we went down to Brockenhurst and saw the lovely Claire at the showroom there, the Royal Enfield showroom, he test rode the Himalayan, whichever blooming field you're in, tested the Himalayan 450, and he enjoyed it, but then he got on the Super Meteor 650 and he came back with a bigger smile on his face, so he was sold. I keep meaning to get down there and do a test ride, well, not a test ride, but just a quick ride on the classic 650, see what it's all about, because A, I love the look of it, and B, idle curiosity and all that. So this is the main Hasler Road, and we're going past in a second the Institute of Naval Medicine, which is on my right, and it used to be partly on my left as well. But that's derelict on my left. But yeah, this is where much of battlefield or sea, how can I put it, sea battle medicine was invented, let's say. And you've got to be thankful for that, and they're still doing it, because every so often new elements of battle come in, and they find a way of dealing with it medically wise. So here we are at Stokes Bay. You've been here many times before. When you watch my videos, I often come along here, A, because it's a blooming lovely ride, and B, it's a glorious day, so why not? Some lovely houses on my right here. As we get along here a little bit, they're all up on a hill, But the gardens are massive. They're front gardens here. I'm assuming it's the front anyway. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous gardens. A lot of money been spent on them. I did mention this was one of my local haunts when I was younger. This and Lee, not so much Hill Head. We used to go bait digging in Hill Head because there's a lot of mud flats and it was very good for the worms, the lugworms, ragworms, etc. You'd find the old cockle. Cockles made mediocre bait, but not very, you know, it was in case you ran out of your worms. I was going to say spiders then. I forgot to put my thinking head on this morning. Beautiful out there. It's very turquoisey sea today. Beautiful. I don't know if you can see it, just over, once I'm out of the way, just over there is a little tower, and that's all part of the ranges over there. So behind the fort and behind the caravan park and everything is the butts of the ranges. I mentioned that in the last video, that we've got Browndown Camp, we've got Browndown Ranges and everything else. And that's one of the outposts, one of the extreme arcs of the range, the left arc. So on my right is Bay House School. My sister went there, so she's the posh one in the family. Lovely school, very well reputed. It's where all the clever kids go. On my left here is Kingfisher Park and Alva Valley on my right. Browndown Camp, I've already mentioned that in my last video. Kingfisher Park again. In Stokes Bay they've got a lovely recreational area and hotel called the Alva Bank, and it's very nice. It's very old, and during the Second World War that area housed the Canadian officers who were getting ready for D-Day. And when we get closer to D-Day, I shall do a history on that, of the local area's involvement with D-Day. And to get my facts right, I'm going to pay a visit to Gosport Museum and see if I can get some facts from them for it. So for now, I'm just going to go a little bit quiet while you enjoy the run along Lee and into Stubbington, and then I'll introduce the history in a little bit. Jeff's enjoying a bit of music there. Head bobbing about. Either that or he's falling asleep, one of the two. Excuse me. don't know if you can see it on the back of Jeff's helmet. He's got the green scorpion with a dagger through it. That was the emblem, let's say, of 3 Squadron RAF Regiment, which he was in and served his country. As I mentioned earlier, this week I've chosen not so much the bike company, but more a company that produced the major component of any motorbike, the motor. So this week I've chosen the J.A.P engine company, and if you'd seen my bike history videos in the past, you would have heard me mention J.A.P many times. John Arthur Prestwich Industries, or as it's more commonly known, J.A.P, is a name synonymous with the motorbike industry. Many brands have used J.A.P engines throughout the history of the motorbike, and on my last count there were 113 motorbike manufacturers that have used J.A.P at some time or another. Manufacturers such as Ambassador, Ariel, Bennett and Barkle of Australia, Breif Superior, who had a habit like many other companies of buying parts from other companies, stamping their mark on it and branding it as their own. There was Coventry Eagle, Dot, Brindley Peerless, Matchless, OEC, Royal Enfield, Sunbeam, Zenith, and so many more that would not have had such great success in the early days if it were not for the quality of J.A.P engines. John Prestwich designed his first motorcycle engine in 1901, but it was not produced until 1903, and made the first overhead valve V-twin in 1906. He also built the 660cc 3-cylinder engine, and J.A.P patented the desmodromic valve design. Very successful after World War I, they supplied engines for many manufacturers, as I've already mentioned, but as more companies developed their own engines, J.A.P relied heavily on industrial engine sales in the 1930s. They were a British engineering company named after the founder, which produced the cinematographic equipment, internal combustion engines, and other examples of precision engineering. John, an engineer, formed the company back in 1895, when he was in his early 20s. He came to be known as much for his creation in cinematography projectors as was his engines. He worked with the S.Z. Ferranti and later the cinema pioneer William Fryce Green. In 1901 he designed and built his own engine, and in 1903 his first complete motorcycle was shown at the Stanley Show. It had a BSA frame, sprung forks, and a vertically mounted 3.5 horsepower overhead valve engine. In 1908, the company stopped motorcycle manufacture in order to concentrate on engines. The engines were used in many famous motorcycle marques and other equipment such as early aircraft, chainsaws, cultivators, and those that produced Howard rotavators and light rail maintenance trucks. Motorcycle engines were associated with racing success and were still used in speedway bikes well into the 1960s. In the late 1920s, early 1930s, they produced various heavier engines under license, including those for the UK market for Aeronco, the aviation company. In light of J.A.P's development of high-powered but light engines for speedway, some low-volume pre-war car manufacturers, including the Morgan Motor Company and Reliant, used J.A.P engines to power their vehicles. This use of the J.A.P extended into motor racing after the Second World War, with most being used in a specialist UK lightweight formulas, or more extensively in Formula 3 racing after developments by John Cooper. After 1945, production was taken over by Villiers, and in 1951 they became a public company. In 1961 they concentrated on the manufacture of J.A.P stationary and motorcycle engines, and in 1964 the company was completely absorbed by Villiers, just as Villiers itself was to be taken over by Manganese Bronze. In its later life, J.A.P also produced components for other vehicle manufacturers, including the cylinder head for the Lotus Cortina version of Ford's popular car in the 1960s. This was one of their last products. As I said at the start, this was only ever going to be a light history on the J.A.P company. Interesting all the same, and any walk around a vintage bike meet or a stroll around bike museums will demonstrate how prolific the company was. So I hope you learnt something from it and found it at least a little bit interesting. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. So until next time, stay safe, ride safe, and do take care.